Mishawaka Common Council for Monday, December 5th, 2022 will please come to order. Good evening. Those of you who are here with us, you look like you're an experienced crew, but just in case you've forgotten, welcome. But if you would, take a moment to check your cell phones to make sure that you have placed them on vibrate or silent. And this evening, we are once again providing an opportunity for members of the public to participate remotely as well. So good evening to you. Members of the public are asked to place their microphone on mute during the meeting with the exception of any public hearing. At the appropriate point in the public hearing, I will invite the public to unmute their microphone for purposes of submitting any comments they wish to make, one person at a time. All persons wishing to make public comments will be asked to first state their name and address for the record, and after completing the comment, members of the public will once again be asked to place their microphone on mute, and we thank you all for your cooperation. At this point, if you would, please join us in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. DeMade?
Here.
Mr. Hazen?
Here.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Here.
Mr. Benicki?
Here.
Mr. Emmons?
Here.
Mr. Belovich?
Here.
Mr. Compton?
Here.
Mrs. Volker?
Here.
Mr. Hixenbaum?
Here.
All present in the chambers.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes of our regular meeting of November 21st, 2022. Are there any additions or corrections? And then hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as received from the clerk's office. Petitions, communications, remonstrance, and memorial.
There are none.
And there are none. So we'll move right into report of special committee, of which there is none. And that leads us to ordinances on first reading.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-42 and ordinance amending ordinance 5663 as amended, fixing the salaries of all employees of the city of Mishawaka except Mishawaka Park Department, elected officials, and the Mishawaka utilities for the city of Mishawaka, Indiana for the year beginning January 1st, 2022. This is amending the salaries and central services certification pay.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-42 will be assigned to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-43, and ordinance amending ordinance 5811, fixing the salaries of all employees of the city of Mishawaka except Mishawaka Park Department, elected officials in the Mishawaka utilities for the city of Mishawaka, Indiana for the year beginning January 1st, 2023. This is amending salaries for the senior purchasing agent and central services certification pay.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-43 will be assigned to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-44, and ordinance amending ordinance 5812, fixing the salaries of all sworn firefighters for the city of Mishawaka, Indiana for the year beginning January 1st, 2023, and continuing for 2 years.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-44 will be assigned to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-45, and ordinance transferring funds from the local road and bridge matching grant fund to the motor vehicle highway restricted fund of the city of Mishawaka for the calendar year ending December 31st, 2022, and an ordinance appropriating additional funds for the year ending December 31st, 2022. This is in the grant fund for the MVHR fund in the amount of $14,233.54 and MVHR fund $14,233.54. Additional appropriation in capital outlay storm sanitary reconstruction in the amount of $300,000.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-45 will be assigned to the Budget and Finance Committee.
I guess I jumped ahead a little bit. Proposed ordinance number 2022-46, an ordinance declaring an emergency and determining the expenditure of additional funds for the year beginning December 31st, 2022. This is a cumulative sewer fund storm sanitary reconstruction in the amount of $300,000.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-46 will be assigned to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-47, an ordinance declaring an emergency and transferring and reappropriating funds within the budget adopted for the calendar year ending December 31st, 2022. This is a transfer of funds in the Human Resources Department in the amount of $17,885.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-47 will be assigned to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-48, an ordinance declaring an emergency and determining the expenditure of additional funds for the year ending December 31st, 2022. This is various funds in the amount of $830,000.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-48 will also be assigned to the Budget and Finance Committee. This evening, we have no resolutions, so we'll move into ordinances on second reading.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-40, an ordinance amending the municipal code of the city of Mishawaka, Indiana, that establishes various fees and parking regulations regarding city-owned electric vehicle charging stations.
Thank you. May we have the committee report, please?
Yes, Mr. President, to the members of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, your Committee on Budget and Finance, to whom was referred the matter of proposed ordinance number 2022-40, report that they have examined said matter, and that in their opinion it should be presented to the council as a whole. This is signed by the entire committee, and I move for its acceptance.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the committee report. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This is the second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 2022-40. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward.
Good evening, President, members of the council. Derek Spear, City Planner. Office is located here at City Hall. As many of you know, the city installed its first electrical vehicle charging station last November. The station has 2 charging ports. It's located just north of City Hall here in the city-owned lot north of Chicory Cafe, so it's directly at the southwest corner of Front Street and Church Street. A portion of the funding for the installation was acquired through a grant through IDEM under the Volkswagen Environmental Mitigation Trust, and this was part of VW's settlement for their violations of the Clean Air Act. Regionally, the grant was administered through MACOG, and MACOG staff reached out to us early last year, and they said that we should look at our charging fee policies for the station moving forward. Currently, per the grant, we cannot charge for the first 2 hours, so the first 2 hours is free, and then we're required to do that for the first 2 years after the installation. So that first 2 free hours goes through next November. But we do have the ability to charge after the first free 2 hours, and then all usage after after 2 years after the initial installation. From November through July of this year, utilization of the station has been pretty light. Of the 2 ports, only 4% of the time there's been somebody connected to one of them, and 2% of the time to both of them. However, since August of this year, we've seen quite a bit of increased usage. It's more than doubled. So from August to now, there's usually somebody in at 10 to 12% of the time, and double occupancy at 4% of the time. The average time a vehicle is plugged in is 4 hours, with a charging time of just under 3 hours. And there are very few charging sessions that last a long time, which are greater than 8 hours. Several other local jurisdictions in our region has also installed charging stations under this grant, and a majority have approved a similar fee ordinance, are in the process of approving a fee ordinance for anywhere between $2 to $3 charging after the first 2 free hours. So our ordinance is proposed to charge $2 for the first 2 hours after the first free 2 hours through next November, and then a flat $2 fee after that per hour after next November. The cost per hour to the city for charging, over the last 3 months, our electric department said it's just over $1 an hour, so that's our cost. And fees are based on the total time that the vehicle is connected and not on the active charging time. So this should incentivize people to have a little bit of a quicker turnover once they're plugged in, so they're just not sitting there, not actually actively charging. So if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Mr. Compton.
Mr. Spear, thank you. I think this is needed, and more of it is needed as time goes on. How is the individual billed?
I think they are billed, right now, of course, it's free. It's free for everybody all the time, and I think that it's through the station. And I don't have an electrical vehicle, so I don't know exactly how it operates, but I think they can either pay there or they might be billed on it. So I'm not sure how it's on the back end. ChargePoint is the group that actually does the administration on it for the billing for it.
I know the technology is there that you're vehicle has an ID.
Yeah.
And ability to actually charge you at home or send you a bill or
Yeah.
however that would work.
I'm not
But
sure if it's point of purchase.
that's set
when
up
they're-
for
yeah,
that?
Yeah, or if it's a monthly bill that the users get.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Other questions? Mrs. Volker?
Thank you. Hi, Derek. I just had, I was listening to you, and you were saying that other jurisdictions are considering doing a $3 an hour fee versus a $2 an hour fee. And so I was kind of trying to figure out why we wouldn't do a $3 an hour fee if our neighbors are doing a $3 an hour fee.
I think there was only one. I think Goshen had a $3 an hour, and I don't know their justification for it. All the other ones were $2 an hour. So, and they've, I think 3 maybe of our adjoining jurisdictions have passed at the $2, and a couple of them are under, in the same process as we are.
Okay. And then is this something that would be evaluated on an ongoing basis or maybe quarterly, so that if our electric costs go up,
Yes.
we're not charging $2, but our cost is $2.50?
It can be, yes. We get monthly reports from ChargePoint, so between the monthly reports and the usage data in our electric department, we can determine financially what is being spent at that.
And who would be doing that? The electric department?
Well, we get the reports. Actually, I get the reports, and
Okay.
actually, the controller's office gets the reports
Okay.
also. So when this started, and actually, like I said, the MACOG staff reached out to us a couple months ago, and they were the ones that actually were tracking the usage up to this point after the installation. So they were the ones that said, hey, you may want to think about this right away, because you're getting a lot more significant usage in the last few months.
Okay.
So that kind of spurred it, and they were like, a lot of other, like I said, jurisdictions were also,
And I would imagine with the activity going on down here, it will really see,
yeah.
a lot more. So, okay, that's my only suggestion, is keep it monitored so it's not costing us more than it should. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Other questions? Thank you for the information. Just a follow-up to Mr. Compton and Mrs. Volker's question. So if our cost is $1 for the generation of the electric, is the additional $1 that gets us to $2 so that we can build up a fund for maintenance and costs once the grant money expires, or how
That
did
I-
we arrive at $2?
Like I said, that was just a recommendation
Okay.
from them, just to at least cover our cost at a minimum. Like I said, I think we only received $9,000 initially through the grant, so there was some additional fees that the city did have in it when we put it in last year.
And I'm aware of the charging station that you referenced. I like to think of it as being behind the barber shop, but are there any plans to expand those charging stations throughout the community, or is that dependent upon identifying some sources to
Yeah.
fund the cost?
Not initially. Our department, we have received questions and know of maybe a couple others that are going in. 3 or 4 years ago, there was a bank of them that were done behind Macy's at University Park Mall. Electrify America put in a bank of them. We got some interest. Somebody wants to put a bank of them in at Meyer now. So we're in the process of reviewing that application and going through permitting for that. And then there's also up at, I believe, Toscana Park. They want to do a few of them. So we're getting a lot of interest too on the private side for wanting to put these in.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Spear? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance? If so, please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance? Is there anyone in the chamber this evening who wishes to speak in opposition to the proposed ordinance? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? If not, then I call for the question.
Question?
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. DeMade?
Yes.
Mr. Hazen?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Mr. Belovich?
Yes.
Mr. Compton?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed ordinance passes 9-0. Proposed ordinance number 2022-41, An ordinance amending the municipal code of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, commonly known as the Councilmanic District Ordinance, and hereby redefining the boundaries of the Councilmanic Districts of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana.
Thank you. May we have the committee report, please?
Yes, Mr. President. To the members of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, your committee on your Personnel Committee, to whom was referred the matter of proposed ordinance 2022-41, report that they have examined said matter and that, in their opinion, it should be adopted. This is signed by the entire committee, and I move for its acceptance.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the committee report. Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We will now move into second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 2022-41. Before we open up the podium for public comment, just to set some background, this is an ordinance that is required under Indiana law the year after the decennial census. And it is a review of the population levels within the 6 councilmanic districts that we have as a city of the second class in Indiana. And as a council, we've worked through this in a very bipartisan fashion. I want to thank the council members for working together in that spirit in order to come up with this ordinance. I also want to thank Kelsey Kaufman and her team from DePaul University in Greencastle, and they were gracious enough to help us provide some expertise and to take a look at this in a nonpartisan, through a nonpartisan lens, and to make some suggestions to us. The ordinance, just for the record and for the benefit of those participating remotely, really makes 2 changes in our current council districts. One precinct from the 2nd council district, what is currently numbered as precinct 208, would be moved to the 3rd council district as precinct 308, and then one other precinct, would be moved from the 6th district, that is 601, would be moved to the 5th district as precinct 508. So this really tracks with the required elements of Indiana law. The ordinance that's in front of us maintains and preserves reasonably contiguous and compact councilmanic districts, which are 2 of the requirements that are set out in the statute. It also avoids any crossing of previously established precinct boundaries so that it reduces the possibility of voter confusion and inefficient administration of elections. It does not gerrymander any current member of the Common Council out of his or her district. And then it also establishes councilmanic districts that contain, as nearly as is practicable, equal population, which are all statutory criterion. So again, I appreciate the spirit of bipartisanship that we have engaged in to bring this in front of us this evening. And with that, we will now open the floor to anyone wishing to come to the podium to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance. If you would like to, please come forward. Then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance? Is there anyone physically present who wishes to speak in opposition to the proposed ordinance? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? Mr. Mamalante.
Thank you. Just more of a question, and are some of these folks, these residents, that if this passes, that are part of the change, will they be notified, or how do we go about that typically?
My understanding is that it then becomes a function of voter registration in the county clerk's office to notify people of the change. And we're really in a different environment now that we have vote centers in St. Joseph County anyway. It's important that there be that notification for folks, in my opinion, but we all really are out of the era where we vote in a precinct in our traditional place, right, wrong, or indifferent, and I'll go on record as saying I miss, going to my old polling place and seeing the people that I saw all the time. But I do believe that there is a notification requirement that takes place via county government after we pass this ordinance.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments from the council? And hearing none, I will call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Demay,
No.
Mr. Hazen,
No.
Mr. Mamalenti,
Yes?
Mr. Benicki,
Yes.
Mr. Emmons,
Yes.
Mr. Belovich,
Yes.
Mr. Compton,
Yes?
Mrs. Volker,
No.
Mr. Hixenbaugh.
Yes.
The proposed ordinance passes 6-3.
At this time, we will move into privilege of the floor, and this is an opportunity for members of the public to come to the podium and speak with respect to non-agenda items only under privilege of the floor. And we will extend the same invitation to those participating remotely. Is there anyone wishing to speak under privilege of the floor? Thank you. This evening, we have no unfinished business, so new business.
Whenever you're ready.
One item of new business is the need, as typically takes place in this time of the year, to change some of our council meeting dates for calendar year 2023 based upon some scheduling conflicts and other such items. So we have a series of dates that are being proposed to be changed in 2023. And since it is such a lengthy list, Madam Clerk, would you please read those meeting date changes into the record?
In accordance with Indiana law, please consider this our annual notice. This is how it will read when it goes out. Regular meetings of the council, by their rules, it would really be every first and third Mondays at 7 p.m. unless City Hall is closed, and then it would be the next regular meeting would be the next day at 7 p.m. These are the proposed changes. January 2nd, 2023, changed to January 9th, 2023. January 16th, changed to January 23rd. April 3rd, changed to April 10th. May 1st, changed to May 8th. July 3rd, changed to July 10th. September 4th, changed to September 11th. November 6th, changed to November 13th.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the changes in meeting dates as read by the clerk?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to change various regular council meeting dates in calendar year 2023, as was just read by the city clerk. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, then I call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Demay,
Yes.
Mr. Hazen,
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti,
Yes?
Mr. Benicki,
Yes.
Mr. Emmons,
Yes.
Mr. Belovich,
Yes.
Mr. Compton,
Yes.
Mrs. Volker,
Yes.
Mr. Hixenbaugh.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0.
Since we're still under new business, is there any other new business to come before the council? Mr. Mamalenti?
Not new business, but I just want to thank whomever purchased these bigger chairs, make a short guy not so short. So I appreciate the purchase and the new seats. Thank you.
I second that motion. Other new business? Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to point out of the great decorations that we have here in City Hall, in particular the council chambers, and I'd like to thank all of those that helped and worked so hard to do this. My staff, Raven, Mike, and Kylie, decorated the tree and the dais, and Shelley from purchasing, Shelley Lentz, purchased a lot of the other things and picked out a lot of the other things. You'll see a beautiful Christmas tree in the lobby, and our city employees working here in this building helped to decorate that tree and also the one on the second floor. So I'd like to thank all of them for working so hard, and it is very, very pretty.
It's really pretty from across the river, too.
Yes.
If you're driving in, you can see it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to your staff for their work on that. Any other new business to come before the council? If not, then a motion to adjourn would be in order.
The move.
We're adjourned.